Hello everyone and welcome back to another video here on this channel. As the title of this video suggests, today we're going to be talking about books that you should read before the summer is over. When this video goes up, we're probably going to have a couple of weeks left of August. To me, summer ends at the end of August, but I know that technically it ends in like the 21st of September, but for me, autumn starts in September, so I am very much in the mindset of summer is nearly over and we've got to make the most of it. Here in Cornwall, the weather has been awful all of July and August. June we had a bit of sun, but July and August has just been rain, grey clouds. It's not been nice. The sun has come out a little bit today though, so I'm feeling inspired to just enjoy and appreciate the last bits of sunshine whilst we have them before autumn begins. So these are books that are perfect to read, in my opinion, towards the end of summer. They're kind of nice transition books to finish the summer and go into autumn. And they all have kind of summery or late summer themes. But before we get started on talking about the books, I just want to quickly share about the sponsor of this week's video, which is Louisa. As you'll probably know, I've worked with Louisa a few times so far this year and absolutely love partnering with them. They are an ethical, sustainable jewellery brand that believe that good quality jewellery shouldn't have to cost the planet. They pride themselves on making affordable jewellery, but that is also ethically and environmentally conscious, and they're really clear about how they source all their materials and their manufacturing process on their website. I also just feel like their jewellery is so seasonally appropriate. Like, they always have beautiful jewellery for any time of the year. So they sent me a few pieces of jewellery to show you for this video, so I'm really excited to show you the pieces that I got because I think that they're all just perfect for the summertime. The first piece is the inner necklace. I really love this one because it's kind of chunky, but also because of the short length it's really subtle. The next piece is the Jane necklace. This is a really cute necklace with a flower design on the front. It's again really summery. I love the flower design and I just think it'll go with so many things. The next piece is the Lore necklace. I might be saying that wrong. I absolutely love this necklace. I actually have worn it pretty much every day since I received it. I just think it's so subtle and dainty. I also received the Rowena bracelet and it just has these little dainty flowers across the bracelet. I then got two different earrings and both of these are sterling silver earrings, and the first one is the low small silver, which are just these really small hoops that again go with everything. And then the second were the rocks small silver, which are slightly more squared off. So if you are interested in having a look at these pieces of jewelry and checking out their website, definitely check out the website link in my description and also the discount code to get 20% off your first order. So let's get on to summer books you should read before the summer season is over. And I've got five books here to talk about, and the first one is one I have talked about before, and that is A Sky Painted Gold by Laura Wood. This is one of those charming, warm stories that has just stuck with me ever since I've read it. I read it last summer and I keep thinking about it and wanting to reread it recently. So this is a young adult historical fiction about a girl called Lou, and she lives in Cornwall in the 1920s. Before I had actually picked up this book, I'd heard it pitched as a blend between The Great Gatsby meets Gilmore Girls, but in Cornwall, which is a great combo, and I do think it actually lives up to that. The romance in this book is very like one of the romances that happens in Gilmore Girls, and the setting of the story itself feels very Great Gatsby. We follow this enigmatic family, this brother and sister who own this huge house on a hill and throw these luxurious parties there. Lou ends up gate crashing one of these parties because she's just so interested in what is going on there, and as a result ends up meeting one of these siblings and starts to get invited to the parties from there. She begins to discover that there are more secrets behind this family than what first meets the eye, but she is also just enraptured by the glamour and the beauty of this house and the gardens, and enjoying the summer weather in this house. And it's just such a lovely book. I love books set in the 1920s because I think they represent summer so well. I feel like maybe it's just in my head, and the next book is gonna link into this, but I just think about the height of summer in books set in the 20s and just how much it's glamorized, like parties and being outdoors, and this book definitely does that. If you like books set in Cornwall, you like a little bit of romance, but also you like a little bit of an adventure story, I would definitely recommend this one. So linked to that, I of course want to recommend The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, which to me is definitely the ultimate summer book, and also again similarly fits that kind of end of summer feel to me. It feels like a book that is very much about change and things to come, and knowing that things are going to change, and so I think the end of a season is quite a nice time to read this book. If you do not know what The Great Gatsby is about, we follow Nick, who, similarly to the previous book I've just talked about, ends up getting swept up in these incredible parties hosted by Gatsby, and it's about 1920s. It just unpacks so much about that era of time. But I love this story so much, and it was one of the books that really made me fall in love with classics when I was younger, and kind of made me obsessed with the 1920s. If you do read this book, or if you have read this book and you wouldn't put this on your summer list, I would so recommend watching the movie Midnight in Paris. That is also set in the summertime and is about a man who travels to Paris with his fiancée, and he's trying to make it as a writer, and through some twists and turns he ends up time travelling back to the 1920s in Paris and mixing with F. Scott Fitzgerald, Ernest Hemingway, Gertrude Stein, and all of the sort of artistic people from that era of time. And I just think it also captures the Great Gatsby feel of parties outdoors in the summertime. So if you have read this book, I would recommend that movie. If you haven't read this book, I think it's a great classic for end of the summer. The next book I want to recommend is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I haven't actually read a lot of books by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I know that she's written some beloved novels, and I've only read this one and one other. But this was the first book of hers that I read, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's set in, I believe it starts right at the end of August. It starts on Saturday, August the 27th, 1983. So it's set in the 80s in Malibu. So Nina, our main character, is a surfer and supermodel, and she always throws an annual end of summer party, and this book kind of follows one of these parties, which we find out right from the beginning is not going to end well, and the house is going to go up in flames. And so we're leading up to what makes that happen. And then in the meantime, we're flipping back and forth in time periods as well. So we're also reading a story about a couple previously that is linked to the main story. And I just really enjoyed this one. I feel like it's got a good mix of mystery and also just real raw emotion and relationships, which I think from this book and the other one I've read by her, as well as by what I've heard from people who've read more of her books, is she does emotion and raw emotion just so well in her books, and really unpacks relationships, often between famous people. It's actually so funny that it begins on the 27th of August, because I remember that when I read it, I had picked it up on the 27th of August, which was a weird coincidence. But yes, a great end of summer book. This next book is not really one that I would typically read or talk about on this channel, but I read it 2 or 3 years ago and really enjoyed it, and it really surprised me how much I enjoyed it. And that was We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This is a really popular book. I still see it so often in supermarkets and always in like airport bookshop. I mean, I've not been to the airport that much, but I've seen it in airport bookshops. I feel like this is one of those books that's just everywhere. Even though it came out years ago, I think it's just had a boost of popularity again. And this is a young adult mystery kind of thriller novel. I feel like this is a book where it's best not to say too much about it, but on the blurb it simply says, "We are liars, we are beautiful and privileged, we are cracked and broken, a tale of love and romance, a tale of tragedy. Which are lies, which is truth? You decide." And so it's a book about these 4 characters who are all in this kind of beach house for the summer, and lies that have been told and things that are going on. And I don't really want to say that much more than that, because I went into this book completely blind to what was going to happen, and I really enjoyed reading it that way. But again, we've got rich people in the summer on holiday, but it's also a book that's very much about change and things coming to an end and things becoming different. And that's all I will say. But yes, I really recommend this one. I really enjoyed it. I think it unpacks some really deep themes, but also makes a very gripping and enjoyable book. And then the final book that I want to talk about is, I haven't talked about this book for ages, and that is Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. I don't know if this book is set in the summer. I don't even know if it even really talks about when it's set. But I think for me this book isn't summery because of when it's set, but just the sort of themes that it picks up on. Also the fact, I mean, look at the book, it's literally got a sun on the pages. This book is a sci-fi dystopian kind of novel about a AI, but in this world they're called artificial friends rather than artificial intelligence. And these artificial friends are created to befriend teenagers. In this version of reality, teenagers are very lonely. They don't kind of socialize very much. And there's also been this development in science that, without going into too much detail, allows children to become more intelligent. And so artificial friends are created to kind of become a companion for young people and to support them. And so we follow Clara, who is one of these artificial friends, who is picked to become the artificial friend of this young girl. As the story goes on, it becomes a much deeper story about kind of how far someone will go for love and love of your children. And it's such a good story. I really want to reread it, actually. And again, it's a story about things coming to an end and things changing and what you do with that time. And yeah, really love it. I think it's so good for this time of year as well, just because of those themes that it picks up on. The sun element is interwoven because the AIs gain their energy from the sun, so they begin to almost worship the sun because it's what gives them life. And so themes around that are kind of woven in as well. It's just such a good story. I really recommend it. I think it's a great place to start as well if you have never read any of Ishiguro's books before. I think I mean, first of all, it's his newest book, but also I just think it's such an accessible and such a good read. I really, really recommend it. So those are my 5 book recommendations for books you should pick up before the summer is over. Let me know if you do decide to pick any of these up before the end of the season, and also let me know in the comments which books to you are just perfect for summer, which are your perfect summer reads, particularly as we're coming to the end of the season. And don't forget to check out the link to Louisa. They have such beautiful pieces of jewellery, so recommend them. And if you do decide to order something, remember to use the discount code in the description. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, wherever you are in this world, and I'll see you very soon with another video.